Should you buy a 1SS1le, spend a little bit more and get the 2SS1le, or do you go straight for the ZL1 and just skip over the SS1Les? I'm about to close out another chapter of this channel, but before I do that, I want to talk about something that's really important for you, and that's 1SS1le, 2SS1le, or ZL1. Do you spend the money to buy the ZL1, or do you get an SS1le? And if you do, which one do you get? Is it really worth it to go to a ZL1, even in current market with used values? So let's do this. So I own my 1SS1le for about 2 years, maybe a little bit more than that, and this car went like everywhere. Okay, I road tripped this car. I went to Vegas a lot. I drove it all over California. It's been at a lot of tracks, a lot of Willow Springs. I basically learned how to track drive on this car. It did a bunch of autocross. It took it. Now, the 1SS1le is kind of bare bones on the inside. You don't really get much thrills, but the Camaro interior in general is actually pretty good. The best part across all three of these cars was those Recaro seats. Those Recaro seats in the Camaros are the best seats I've ever sat in my life. Yes, most comfortable I've ever been in. The Camaro ergonomics in general for a taller driver is perfect. I think like 6 foot and up, you're gonna find this car absolutely perfect. And before I get into it, not being able to see out of the car, because a lot of car reviewers jumped out of their Prius and then sat in a Camaro to go review it for an hour.
I can't see the cars.
Okay, back up, guys. You can't see the cars.
They got the fuck out of the way. I can't see. There are cars there, motherfucker.
I didn't just ignore that, because you drive the car for like a few days to a week and you're instantly used to it, and that's it. You know how to. You're just comfortable with it. It's a sports car at the end of the day. If we already know, they all kind of have the same suspension, but there is very, very small differences. So I want to start off with, which car should you buy? Now, obviously the 1SS1le is going to be the cheapest. Okay, now you can buy an SS Camaro, but I suggest you buy an SS1le if you like really good suspension, if you like canyon driving, track driving, if you just appreciate a stiff suspension that can take it all and do everything. But at the same time, you have mag ride on these, right? So you can put it in comfort. And I'm telling you right now, the car's like a Cadillac. Like, it'll go over bumps smoother than most cars, even in the 1LE suspension. So don't just throw it off the bat because it's a 1LE. They are amazing. The mag ride's amazing. The suspension's amazing. So with the 1SS1le, this was a track car for me. I didn't know I was going to start track driving until I bought it. And then I went, this car needs to be on a track. Everything's great about it. Now, the interior can leave a little bit to be desired, and that's because the 2SS1le has those interior lightings. Right, so the lighting on the interior you get with a 2SS1le. You also get the rear view camera mirror that points backwards and then basically projects it as an LED screen. I thought I wouldn't want that, but once you get it, it's amazing. Now the ZL1 has that too, and really the ZL1 has the same interior as the 2SS1le, but instead of gray inserts on the seats, it's red. And let me tell you, they should all have red. It's true. The Bose system in the car versus the 1SS1le is way better. A matter of fact, it's almost worth going to a 2SS1le if you appreciate a stereo. Now you can say, I'm just going to get good exhaust, and then that's what you're happy with. That's totally cool. But if you appreciate good music, I think you should at least get the 2SS1le just for that scenario. So you could buy 1SS1les for somewhere around $40K right now, and 2SS1les are probably going to get you into the mid 50s. Now, I got to be honest, personally, yes, I think you should get the 2SS1le unless the car is strictly a track car. And I mean like you're hitting the track maybe 8 to 10 times a year. Get the 1SS1le, save the little bit of weight. Now the weight between the two is actually negligible. So if that's an issue, don't worry about that. It's negligible. You won't even notice it between the 1SS and the 2SS of the 1LEs. But the interior comforts, the quality of the stereo, the lighting on the inside at night gives it just such a vibe that I would say go with the 2SS1le. I would, in my personal opinion, if you're tracking or if you're a taller person, don't get the sunroof. You know, it doesn't open like that far, and it seemed like the sun was always in my eyes when I was using it. But if you like sunroofs, it's there. But if you're gonna track and you got a helmet, you're a taller guy, it worked for me, but I had to be in a very specific seating position to be able to fit with the helmet and my lanky ass self in there.
Do you find something comical about my appearance when I'm driving my automobile?
That's something to think about. But otherwise, between the two, pure track rat car that you don't really drive too much, I would say 1SS1le. If you're driving to the track and back and you're making stops and it's your only car or your primary car, I would say get the 2SS1le because it could do everything the 1SS1le can, but it just has more creature comforts and more comfortability. So now the question becomes, 2SS1le, or do you spend the extra almost $20K to get a ZL1? So now we have a car with the same exact interior and close to the same exterior, but one has a supercharger and a fully built engine ready to take that power, and one doesn't. So you come into the scenario, should I get the ZL1 or the 2SS1le? And this question gets brought up to me more than any other question I've ever been asked through the history of owning my Camaros the past 5-6 years. And this is my official answer. This is my official answer, and it's not black and white. Nothing I do is black and white. There's always caveats, okay? Because life isn't good and bad. Sometimes there's sometimes there's medium points. There's gray areas in life, and that's what I want to kind of decipher right here is, do we want the 2SS1le for, let's say, 50K, or do we want the ZL1 for, let's say, 70K? Now there might be slight differences, but usually they fit about 15 to 20 grand apart for the same year and mileage type of car. So the ZL1 on smaller tracks, you're going to feel the weight, and the weight does feel in the nose. So essentially the engine is reinforced. You have a supercharger up front, you have larger axles, but you do feel the weight of the ZL1. You absolutely do. And the 2SS1le versus the ZL1, the 2SS1le suspension felt a little more buttoned up than the ZL1's. So I actually put the rear cradle lockout on my ZL1, where the SS, I didn't think I needed it. So something to think about. You felt the rear end movement a little bit more in the unsettling of it. Now, that's not to say that the ZL1 is unsettled. No, it's a track car. Don't get that wrong in any way. It's a track car, and you feel that and you know it. But it's also just such a brute. You're gonna go through tires about double the speed that you would on your SS1le with the ZL1. You're gonna go through gas at double the rate on the track. Yeah, double. So if you're spending $200 in gas with an SS1le, you're probably gonna be spending $400 on a ZL1. Yeah, your brakes are gonna go through at double the rate as well. And I'm saying this after experiencing and tracking both cars pretty thoroughly. Now, is that like a problem? Well, if you enjoy it, no, but it makes your track days that much more expensive, and this is just a hobby. At the end of the day, we're hobbyists, right? So we got to spend money on other things. The ZL1 is a lot to tame as well. So you think, oh, it does compose its speed and how much it puts its power down. You turn off traction control, but you got to be careful, especially when it's cold outside, and especially when you first get on track, because it hides its speed. You think you could take turns at whatever speed. The first time I got the ZL1 on track, I'd been driving two Camaro SS1Ls for a few years. I had an idea of how the Camaro handled and what turns I can do and everything. Well, I put the ZL1 on the track, and the first time I put it through a turn, I went full straight line, and then I did a turn and I ended up in the dirt. I ended up in the dirt 3 times that day. And it hurt my soul because there's a lot of rocks on streets of Willow. So it hides its speed. You gotta be on your game. It's a fast ass car and it's heavy, so it hides its capabilities until you're there. Overall, awesome car. The SS1le wheels are a little bit lighter than the ZL1 wheels. And the rotors are just a hair lighter on the SS1le as well. The SS1le to me is the more balanced track car, depending on the track. If you have a bigger high-speed track, the ZL1 is going to spank. It is going to spank. Now, taking the same exact driver and taking them from an SS1le and putting them in ZL1, the ZL1 is going to do lower times with the same driver once you're comfortable with the car. I think I dropped somewhere around 4 to 6 seconds with my ZL1. But a part of that was me learning the car as well. You're going to brake more on the ZL1 because you're going to have higher speeds, right? You're going to be able to keep up with a lot faster cars, but it comes at a price, okay? And when you're on the track, I got to tell you right now, I've had slower cars beat me in time significantly because the driver was that much better. Talking to you, Camaro, and that's just what it is. That's just the reality of track driving. I think a lot of people just want to do straight lines and highway poles, and if that's your thing, then the ZL1's the car. That's it. Done. Yeah, if you're doing quarter miles, eighth miles, whatever, the ZL1 all day. All day. It is that good. It is fast as hell. It pulls a ton of attention. And also that engine is probably one of the most beautiful engines I've probably ever seen put into a factory car. Hands down. Now, you could take an SS1le of any flavor and you could do bolt-ons and you could probably put down close to 500 wheel horsepower without supercharging it. Now, you run the risk of breaking something because you're out of warranty now, so that's a factor. In the ZL1, the power is already there, 650, 650. Now, whatever the heck somebody tells you about a Mustang on E85 beating a ZL1, you could just tell them to get lost because it's probably a driver error at that point. The ZL1 spanks, okay? Spanks. Would I go back in time and keep my SS1le or purchase the ZL1? I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Probably should have kept the 2SS1le. To be honest, I think that's the right way to go. I do. But I don't think that's any shade on a ZL1. You can't put shade on a ZL1. And I can't put shade on any 6th gen Camaro, whether it be the turbos, the turbo 4-bangers, or the V6s. I think the 6th gen Camaro is probably one of the best sports cars of our era in that price range. Good. So I'm gonna say this: if you're making $100K or so a year, depending on your finances, an SS1le is just a hell of a car to have in your garage or in your driveway. It's gonna make you happy every single time you drive it. The ZL1 is gonna do the same thing. It's just gonna cost a lot more in gas and everything. For some reason, my ZL1 insurance was cheaper than my SS1le. But with that said, I'm going to be closing out a chapter very soon here. And it's because I have to. And I can't talk about that. We're going to do that in the next video. But I wanted to clarify which Camaro you should buy and why you should buy it and why they are so good. If you want to save money, get a 1SS1le. If you want to spend a little bit more but not totally just blow your load on a ZL1, 2SS1le is great. If I were to rate the 1SS, the 2SS, and the Z all on a scale from 0 to 10, every one of them would get a solid like 9.9. So I don't want to be a fanboy here. I've driven Mustangs. I have a Golf R. I have a ZL1. I've driven, all sorts of cars. I've borrowed my friends' cars. And the Camaro is probably the best suspension you are going to get. The best V8 to manual transmission to just the full package. Now there is one car that I think is comparable out there. We're going to talk about that in another video, but nothing takes the cake with the Camaros. So whether you want a 1SS1le, 2SS1le, or a ZL1, I gotta tell you, buy whatever fits in your finances and gives you the best bang for buck for what you want out of it. Bust open a sheet and find out, list all the goods and the benefits and the drawbacks of each car and the cost, and make sure you dial in which one you really, really, really want. If you're gonna end up in a ZL1 anyways, just save up and get the ZL1. See you on the next one.